Hey guys, welcome to the Mainspringer channel. I'm Parikh, and in today's video, we're going to talk about 8 watches from the year 2023 that really caught my attention. Let's dive into it. So the watches we're going to talk about today are watches that really caught my attention aesthetically more than anything else. We're not necessarily talking about price point. We're not talking about whether it is a brand new watch compared to an evolution, because some of the watches in this list are just evolutions of previous watches. And we're not also talking about value for money of the watch per se, or the price range in which they're actually targeted. So there's something in different price ranges, and let's explore the ones that I found really interesting. We're going to start off with Longines. So Longines has had this incredible history of probably premium watchmaking prior to the 70s, and they have made some incredible chronograph movements, including the 13ZN, which is widely popular by collectors. But ever since the Swatch Group acquired them, they have been placed more in the entry-level watch arena, potentially, but even in that place, they have been making some fantastic watches that are incredible to look at, as well as very well priced. And the one that really caught my attention last year is the Longines Hydro Conquest GMT, particularly the ones with a brown and gold color combination. It's a really beautiful color combination, very rich, very root beer-esque, although I personally feel this execution is even better than some of the ones from Rolex in terms of a color scheme. The watch features a 41 millimeter case. It's 12.9 millimeters thick, which is not too thick, but it's not thin either. It's water resistant with a screw down crown and has a 72-hour power reserve movement. Really well done, well executed watch, and I think this is one of those watches that the minute I looked at it, it was love at first sight. The next watch we're going to talk about is the Heuer Skipper Carrera, which is essentially a reinterpretation of a historic and highly popular model from Heuer, which is the Heuer Skipper. These watches were made in very few numbers. They are very collectible by the collector community. And what TAG Heuer has done is really kept the essence of the watch, but they have used their newest glass box design on this particular watch. The subdials have a good depth to them. They have really kept to the color scheme of the watch. The date is well placed at 6 o'clock, and the watch does have a very 3D feel. This, to me, is just a very well thought out and well packaged watch. It's 100 meters water resistance, 41 millimeter case, very well executed, and I think this is Heuer coming back with a vengeance to really showcase what they should have been all along. I think over the years they've had this slump of making not great watches, and I always wondered, the tag in TAG Heuer stands for Technique Avant-Garde, which is like cutting edge technology. It was far from that. And I feel like the tag is back in TAG Heuer for the first time. The third watch is what we might call a high horology watch, but this one is the Moser Streamliner Small Seconds, which was launched this year for the first time, this time with a enamel fume dial. Now, fume enamel dials is Moser's bread and butter. These guys were the ones who pioneered the concept of the fume dial, and it has pretty much permeated the watch culture. Most brands today try to do a fume fade on their dial, and there are a lot of companies that have taken enameling almost as a business model if you think about companies like Anordain. But this watch really brings together, first of all, the Streamliner case, I think, is one of the most iconic integrated bracelet watch case designs, and I think is a better value compared to something like a Royal Oak, personally. What Moser has really done is improved the movement on this. So rather than having central rotor movement, this watch now has a micro rotor movement. It's got a nice anthracite movement finishing with all these gold gears, which really aesthetically provides a beautiful look to the movement itself. I'm actually getting one of the original Streamliner watches in for a review in a couple of weeks, so I'll have a chance to get hands-on with that particular watch. Overall, a fantastic looking watch in my opinion, and something that I think really appeals to my taste. The fourth watch on the list is actually a community favorite. It's actually the Black Bay, but it's the Black Bay 41 millimeters. Now this watch kind of flew under the radar because the Black Bay 54 I think just sucked all the attention, but to me the Black Bay is finally starting to mature with this particular design. I've always looked at the Black Bay as an homage watch. I always felt like they lacked some of the refinement their elder sibling Rolex had, and you can see with this new iteration they have included the T-Fit clasp. They have really improved the grip on the bezel. They've improved the knurling on the crown. A lot of these knurlings start to resemble those of their Rolex counterpart. I've always thought the knurling on the crown and the bezel for the Tudor Black Bay as well as the Pelagos were too fine. They were actually too fine to be able to get a grip. They have actually made them a little bit more chunkier and easier to grip. And last but not the least, the 5-link bracelet, which is essentially Tudor's equivalent of a Jubilee bracelet, I think is a very good choice on this particular watch, especially compared to the riveted Oyster bracelet that they offer, which is the other option. To me, this is the year where the Tudor is really coming together, and they're slowly refining it each year. They now have the Metas certified movement in this watch. So very good choices that Tudor is making towards refining this watch, and I think it's going to be a very popular one. The next watch is from a micro brand, and it's been a fan favorite for a lot of people. It's the Baltic Hermetique watch. And Baltic is this French brand that has been making some beautifully designed, vintage-inspired watches, and the Hermetique to me is actually a very good choice or an alternate to an Explorer watch. It's got the nice 12369 dial. It's got these big blocks of applied lume. The case is beautifully designed. I love how the crown actually gets recessed into the case, and the choice of colors that they've made, particularly the beige one, to me just sings. It's a 37 millimeter diameter case, 10.8 millimeters thick. It's got a Miyota movement in it with a 42-hour power reserve, 150 meters water resistant. To me, this is a perfect package. It's priced very reasonably, very, very nicely done watch, beautiful design, something different, something unique that you don't typically see. The next watch we're going to look at is the Bulgari Octo Finissimo Carbon Gold Perpetual Calendar. Another one of the watches from this brand that I think flew under the radar. It's a forged carbon design. It's got these embedded gold indices and numerals that are nicely laid out. This is one of those easy to read perpetual calendar watches that I've really admired. I think the way they've laid the dial out and the time out makes it a breeze to read this watch. It's 100 meters water resistant. It's the same Octo Finissimo design that we know and love, but it's the combination of materials, the color, and how it's all put together has really made this watch come alive in a way that I did not expect. And that's something very unique about this case geometry. When you change the material, it truly changes the look of the watch. And Bulgari, I think, struck a gold mine with this case design, because when they do it in a shiny ceramic versus a matte ceramic, it completely changes the look of the watch. Those are two currently available watches out there. If you've not had a chance, go look at those watches, and they look dramatically different from each other. The seventh watch on this list, it is the Cartier Skeleton Micro Rotor Santos Dumont. Now, Cartier is a very controversial subject for a lot of people. It is a jewelry brand primarily. They also, though, have been making watches since the early inception, they actually made one of the first wristwatches. It's very hard to put your finger and say what Cartier is good at because they are actually good at many things. They have essentially taken the Cartier Santos Dumont and they have skeletonized it. And I should tell you, nobody does skeletonizing as well as Cartier does. The balance of the skeletonization and the bridges really sings on this design. And they have incorporated the Demoiselle plane as the micro rotor on the watch. And it's a platinum micro rotor, irrespective of which model you get. Very nicely, well laid out, well balanced design, and yet incredibly thin. And this is a in-house developed movement by Cartier. Not a lot of brands can say that about their watches. In-house is not new for Cartier. Cartier has had in-house designed movements for a long time. So this is not new for them. It's just nice to see it all come together and Cartier reminding the community that, hey, we're more than just a jewelry brand. We're more than just a quartz watch brand. Look what we can do. These watches are incredibly popular. When they launched at Watches and Wonders, people just lost their mind. This was one of the most popular Cartier watches off their collection. And the last watch we're going to talk about, I was very surprised that I was going to like this watch, but I really did. And this is the Zodiac Super Sea Wolf ceramic, particularly in the blue color. Lovely looking watch. The ceramic, white ceramic is a material that needs to be used cautiously. I've seen a lot of other white ceramic watches that have really not spoken to me. This one, it was love at first sight. The choice of colors, the sun ray dial that they have on this watch, the blue color, it's a very summer, very whimsically put together watch, beautifully designed ceramic case, 41 millimeter case diameter, and 44-hour power reserve movement. Very well designed watch. It is a dive watch, so it is water resistant. Altogether, very well designed watch. Beautiful aesthetic, comes on a lovely rubber strap. There were a lot of watches that sucked in a lot of attention last year that a lot of people liked. That didn't really speak to me, so I really wanted to do my take on what these watches might be. And these were the watches that I came up with. I hope you like it. Let me know in the comments what you think about these particular watches. Are those ones in this list that captured your attention? Were there ones that you thought were phenomenal that I completely missed the ball on? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. If you are a regular viewer, I appreciate your support. Consider subscribing to the channel, and thanks a lot. Have a great day.